They say you can tell a lot about someone by how they treat people who can't do anything for them. That's the truth in every cafe, every office, every heart that thinks it's above another. This story starts in a small coffee shop off Peachtree Street in Atlanta. The kind of place where regulars smile at the barista and call her by name. Her name was Alicia Carter, 27, bright smile, tired eyes. She'd been working the morning shift for 3 years. Saving, dreaming, surviving. The air smelled of roasted beans and rain-wet concrete. That morning, the shop buzzed like any other, until a man in an expensive navy suit walked in. Silver watch, polished shoes, phone glued to his ear. His name was Mr. Graham, a man whose money made rooms fall silent. He wasn't a villain, just someone who'd forgotten the softness of humility. Alicia smiled like she always did. "Good morning, sir. What can I get started for you today?" He didn't look up. "Just coffee, black, extra hot." His tone cut like glass. She nodded, tapping on the register. "That'll be." He raised a hand sharply. "You don't have to tell me the price. I can afford it." A few customers looked up. Alicia swallowed her pride. "Of course, sir." She turned to make the drink. Steam rose. Espresso hissed. But when she handed him the cup, he frowned. "This isn't hot enough. Do you people even listen?" Her hands trembled. "I'm sorry, sir. I can remake it." He sighed loudly, pulling out a crisp $100 bill. "Maybe this will help you focus next time." He tossed it on the counter, not as a tip, but as a lesson. Something in Alicia's chest cracked. But instead of anger, she whispered, "Thank you, sir. Have a blessed day." 3 words. Have a blessed day. It wasn't sarcasm. It wasn't spite. It was grace, pure and simple, but it hit him like thunder. He froze, cup halfway to his lips, staring at her, trying to understand why kindness still lived where pride had tried to trample it. He wanted to say something, anything, but words failed, so he left. Outside, the rain had stopped. He stood under the awning, replaying her voice in his head. Have a blessed day. He'd heard those words before. Years ago, when he wasn't wearing a suit but sleeping in his car, trying to start his first business. A diner waitress had told him the same thing when he couldn't afford breakfast. Inside the cafe, Alicia exhaled, wiping a tear before anyone could see. Her coworker, a young white guy named Ben, shook his head. "You handled that better than I could have." She smiled faintly. "My grandma always said, you can't let someone else's storm drown your peace." What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Mr. Graham wasn't just rich. He owned the building. The coffee shop was under his company's lease. And the girl he'd just humiliated worked for him. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about her voice, her patience, her dignity. Somewhere between guilt and curiosity, he made a decision. The next morning, before the shop opened, a black SUV pulled up. He stepped out, not in his usual tailored arrogance, but in jeans and a hoodie. He pushed open the door. Alicia was mopping the floor, earbuds in, humming softly. She turned, startled. "Oh, we're not open yet, sir." "I know," he said quietly. "I just wanted to apologize." She blinked, unsure if she heard right. "For what?" "For yesterday. I was rude. You didn't deserve that." Alicia hesitated, studying his face. "Thank you, but you don't have to." "Yes, I do," he interrupted, voice trembling slightly. "You said something that stuck with me." She tilted her head. "What's that?" He smiled faintly. "Have a blessed day." For a long second, silence hung between them, the kind that humbles even the proud. Then he did something unexpected. He reached into his pocket and handed her an envelope. "This isn't money," he said quickly. "It's a letter. Please read it later." She took it hesitantly. "Okay." When he left, she opened it. Inside was a handwritten note. "You reminded me of who I used to be, before success made me forget kindness. You work for one of my companies. I didn't know until this morning. You've got potential, Alicia. I want to help you grow. Meet me tomorrow at the downtown office. Graham." Alicia stood frozen, the mop slipping from her hands. She called her best friend Jasmine. "Girl, you won't believe this," she said, her voice shaking. "That rude man from yesterday? He's the owner, and he wants to meet me tomorrow." Jasmine gasped. "You're joking. What does he want?" Alicia sank onto her couch. "I don't know. But something tells me this isn't just about a job." She didn't sleep much that night, part fear, part hope. What could a millionaire possibly want from a waitress he'd insulted? The next morning, she stood outside a glass skyscraper downtown, clutching the letter. Her heart pounded. She looked at her reflection. Apron traded for a blue dress, hair pulled back neatly. As she stepped toward the elevator, a voice called out behind her. "Miss Carter." She turned and froze. It wasn't Mr. Graham. It was a woman in a gray suit holding a briefcase. "I'm his attorney," the woman said. "Mr. Graham asked me to speak with you first. There's something you need to know before you go upstairs." Alicia frowned. "Is this about that letter?" The woman nodded slowly. "Partly. Mr. Graham's past isn't as clean as those suits he wears. He wasn't always rich. He came from less than you think." Alicia tilted her head, skeptical but curious. "People change." "Yes," the attorney replied, "but not always for the right reasons." The elevator doors opened, and the hum of the building wrapped around them. They stepped in. The numbers climbed. 10, 15, 20. Alicia's reflection trembled in the mirrored walls. She thought of her grandmother's words. "Grace doesn't make you weak. It makes you unforgettable." When the doors opened on the 24th floor, the attorney gestured toward a frosted glass door marked Graham Enterprises. "He's expecting you." Alicia stepped inside. The office was quiet, modern, expensive, but lonely. The kind of space that smelled like money but not warmth. Behind a massive oak desk sat Mr. Graham. Not the arrogant man from the cafe, but someone smaller, almost humbled. He stood when she entered. "Alicia, thank you for coming." Her voice was calm but cautious. "You said you wanted to help me. I still don't understand why." He motioned for her to sit. "Because you reminded me of someone I lost." She frowned. "Who?" He took a deep breath. "My mother." For a moment, silence filled the air like smoke. "She worked 2 jobs," he continued softly. "One of them in a diner not far from here. She used to say the same thing you did when people treated her poorly. 'Have a blessed day.' I used to hate those words. I thought they made her weak. But when she passed, I realized they made her strong." Alicia's expression softened. "I'm sorry for your loss." He nodded, eyes distant. "When I saw you yesterday, I heard her voice again. It was like she was reminding me who I used to be." He stood, walking toward the window overlooking the city. "I built everything to prove I was better than where I came from. But money doesn't erase shame. It just hides it under nicer fabric." Alicia listened quietly. For the first time, she saw the man behind the arrogance. "I want to offer you something," he said, turning back. "A management position, full benefits, training. I think you have potential." Her eyes widened. "Mr. Graham, that's generous. But I'm not sure why me." He smiled faintly. "Because kindness like yours is rare. And because I owe you, not just for the way I treated you, but for the reminder that decency still exists." She hesitated. "I'll think about it." "Of course," he said. "Take your time." As she stood to leave, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. His expression shifted, shadowed by something dark. "Excuse me," he murmured, stepping aside. Through the glass, Alicia could hear fragments of his voice. Sharp, worried. "No, that can't be right. I told them to keep it quiet." He ended the call abruptly. When he turned back, his confidence had cracked. "Everything okay?" Alicia asked. He forced a smile. "Just business." But as she left the office, the attorney appeared again, eyes full of quiet concern. "Did he tell you the truth?" she asked. "The truth," Alicia repeated. "He told me about his mother." The attorney sighed. "That's part of it, but not the whole story." Alicia frowned. "What do you mean?" The woman leaned closer, lowering her voice. The man who owned that diner, the one his mother worked for, he destroyed that business to build his empire. And Mr. Graham, he's the one who closed it down. Alicia froze. What? He never talks about it, the attorney continued. But that's why he recognized your words. Because the woman who taught him humility was the same kind of woman he turned his back on when money came. Alicia's throat tightened. She didn't know whether to feel compassion or anger. As she stepped outside, her phone buzzed, an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Miss Carter? A male voice said, deep, calm. This is Detective Reynolds, Atlanta PD. We need to speak with you about Mr. Graham. Her pulse quickened. What about him? The detective paused. You were the last person seen with him this morning. He didn't show up for a meeting after you left. Alicia's breath caught. Wait, are you saying he's missing? We're not sure yet, the detective said. But there's more. His car was found near the river. The world tilted around her. The river? Yes, ma'am. And inside the car was a note with your name on it. Her knees weakened. My name? Yes, the detective said. We need you to come down to the station right away. The call ended. The phone slipped from her hand, landing with a soft thud on the pavement. The city noise blurred sirens, voices, wind. None of it felt real. Alicia looked toward the skyline. The same building that had once made her feel small. Now it loomed like a question she couldn't answer. Who was Mr. Graham, really? And what secret had been too heavy for even his money to carry? As the clouds rolled in and rain began to fall again, Alicia whispered to herself, almost like a prayer, almost like a promise. Grandma, I think I'm about to find out. That afternoon, Alicia Carter sat in a cold chair inside the Atlanta Police Department, the hum of flickering fluorescent lights above her. She'd never been in a police station before, never thought she'd have to answer questions about a man who, 2 days ago, was just another rude customer. Detective Reynolds was tall, black, mid-40s, with the calm patience of someone who'd seen too many stories end badly. He set a small notebook on the table and looked up. Miss Carter, thank you for coming. Alicia nodded nervously. You said Mr. Graham's car was found near the river? He nodded. Yes, ma'am. About 2 hours ago. Doors unlocked, engine off. No sign of him. Her fingers twisted around her purse strap. And the note you mentioned? Reynolds opened a clear evidence bag. Inside was a folded sheet of thick paper. Mr. Graham's handwriting unmistakable. On the front, her name. She swallowed hard. What does it say? The detective slid on gloves, unfolded it gently, and read aloud. Alicia, you reminded me of who I was before the lies. If something happens, tell them the truth should be free. Don't let them bury it. Alicia's voice cracked. The truth should be free? What does that mean? Reynolds sighed. That's what we're trying to figure out. Do you know what kind of business he was running? I know he owned the Café building. Some kind of development company? The detective leaned back, thoughtful. Graham Enterprises has been under quiet investigation for months. Fraud, property theft, illegal contracts. But no one could make anything stick. If he's really missing, it could mean he was about to talk. Alicia's heart pounded. Talk? To who? To us, Reynolds said. We got a call from an anonymous source last week. Said a high-profile developer wanted to confess everything. Said he'd been living a lie. We think that was Graham. Alicia's eyes widened. And he reached out to me right before he disappeared. Reynolds nodded slowly. Looks that way. For a moment, silence filled the room. You could almost hear guilt breathing. Then the door opened. Another detective, a white woman with short red hair, stepped in. Reynolds, she said quietly. We found something else in the car. He stood. What is it? She handed him a photograph, old, worn, edges burned. He studied it, brow furrowing. Then he looked at Alicia. Do you recognize this? She leaned forward. The picture showed two women standing outside a small diner. One of them looked familiar, older, kind eyes, apron tied around her waist. Alicia gasped. That's my grandmother. Reynolds blinked. Your grandmother? Yes, Marjorie Carter. She used to run a diner down on Auburn Avenue before it was torn down years ago. The red-haired detective frowned. That's the same diner Graham's mother worked at. The room went still. Alicia felt the air leave her chest. You mean, my grandmother worked with his mother? Reynolds nodded slowly. Seems that way. And from what our records show, when the property was bought out and closed, a lot of employees lost everything. Pensions, savings, their homes. The deal went through Graham's first company. Alicia's voice trembled. He took my grandmother's livelihood to build his empire? Reynolds exhaled. It looks that way, yes. And now, he's missing right after reaching out to you. It doesn't feel random. Alicia looked down at the note again. The truth should be free. She whispered. He knew. He found out what really happened. Reynolds gave a slow nod. That's what I think too. But someone didn't want that truth to come out. As they spoke, a knock came on the glass. A young officer poked his head in. Detective? There's a woman here asking for Miss Carter. Reynolds frowned. Who is she? The officer checked his notepad. Says her name is Evelyn Graham. Alicia's eyes widened. Graham? His wife. The detective nodded toward the door. Bring her in. Moments later, a tall woman entered. Mid-40s, elegant but with eyes that carried sleepless nights. She clutched a purse to her chest like it was her only safety. Alicia Carter? She asked softly. Yes, ma'am. Evelyn stepped closer. I know you don't know me, but my husband spoke about you before he disappeared. Alicia's breath caught. He did. Yes, Evelyn whispered. He said you reminded him of the kind of goodness he thought he'd lost. But you need to understand, he was scared. Someone was threatening him. Reynolds leaned forward. Who? Evelyn hesitated, glancing around. He didn't say names, just that if anything happened to him, I should find her. Reynolds frowned. Find who? Evelyn turned to Alicia, eyes glistening. Your grandmother. Alicia froze. My grandmother passed away 5 years ago. Evelyn nodded sadly. He knew that, but he said something else, that she wasn't supposed to. Reynolds straightened, voice tightening. Mrs. Graham, what are you saying? Evelyn looked down, tears falling silently. I'm saying, your grandmother didn't die of natural causes. Alicia's chair screeched against the floor. What? No, that's not possible. She had a heart attack. Evelyn shook her head slowly. That's what they wanted you to think. Reynolds stood, jaw tightening. Who's they? Evelyn looked toward the door, her voice trembling. The same people who made my husband disappear. For a long second, no one spoke. The sound of the rain outside filled the silence like a warning. Alicia's eyes burned. If that's true, then what do they want with me? Evelyn looked at her with something between fear and sorrow. They want you to stop asking questions. Just then, the lights flickered, once, twice, before the entire room plunged into darkness. Alicia gasped. Reynolds reached for his weapon. Outside, distant shouting echoed down the hallway. The red-haired detective's voice broke through the dark. Back up, now! The power came back, flickering like a dying flame. But the chair across from Alicia was empty. Evelyn Graham was gone. Only her purse remained, and inside, a small envelope. Alicia picked it up, hands trembling. On the front, written in neat cursive, for Alicia, the truth your grandmother died for. She looked at Reynolds, her voice barely a whisper. Detective, what's happening? He glanced toward the hallway, eyes narrowing. I think someone just made sure we don't find out too soon. Outside, a black SUV sped away from the station, tires screeching against wet asphalt. And inside that envelope waited the secret that could destroy everything. The night hung heavy over Atlanta, rain slicing through the streets like whispers of unfinished sins. Alicia Carter sat in the back of Detective Reynolds' car, the envelope clutched tight in her hands, heart pounding with every red light that passed. The detective's voice was low, steady, the kind that knew how to hold back fear. Go on, open it, he said, eyes fixed on the road. Alicia tore the seal, fingers trembling. Inside, a photograph, a USB drive, and a small folded note. The handwriting was careful, almost afraid. It read, "If you're reading this, it's already begun." Alicia's breath caught. Reynolds didn't flinch. "Let's find out what's begun." They drove to a dim warehouse on the edge of the city. One of those secret precinct labs where the walls hummed with secrets. The computer booted up slow, the screen flickering like it was scared too. Alicia slid the USB in. Static. Then, a video, dated 2002. Grainy. Her grandmother, Marjorie Carter, sitting at a diner table, hands folded, staring down a man in a crisp suit. The voice that came through the speaker was smooth, practiced, powerful. "Mrs. Carter, this deal helps everyone." Her grandmother's voice was calm, steady, but full of fire. "Not my community. You're taking our homes, our history, everything we built." The man leaned forward, face half hidden in shadow. "You can take the offer or take the fall. Either way, this block will be ours." The camera shook, the frame glitched, and then Marjorie was gone. The chair sat empty. Alicia covered her mouth. "That's the day she disappeared," she whispered. Reynolds leaned in, rewinding the footage. "Wait, there, that reflection in the window." He paused the video. Outside the diner, a black SUV waited. The license plate was half visible. He jotted it down. "We can trace that." Alicia's eyes stayed locked on the man in the video. "I know that face," she said softly. "That's Senator Whitfield." Reynolds frowned. "The same one still in office?" Alicia nodded, voice breaking. "My grandmother trusted him. He promised to protect the neighborhood." Reynolds exhaled sharply. "Then this isn't just theft. It's political." The screen flickered again, and a second file played automatically. This one wasn't video, it was audio. The voice that came through made Alicia freeze. It was Mr. Graham. "If you're hearing this, I'm probably gone," he said. "I helped destroy Marjorie Carter's legacy, signed the papers, moved the money, but I didn't know what they'd do to her. I thought it was business. It was murder." Alicia's tears fell silently, mixing with the static hum. "They're still doing it," Graham's voice continued, "through fake companies, fake charities, and the man behind it sits in the Senate today." The recording ended with a low hum. Silence filled the room. Reynolds' jaw tightened. "We're taking this to the press." But before Alicia could answer, the screech of tires cut through the night. Reynolds went to the window, 3 black SUVs, circling the warehouse. "They found us," he said. Alicia's pulse jumped. "How?" "Doesn't matter. Grab the drive." They ran. The hallways echoed with heavy boots, shouts, gunfire. Glass shattered. They burst through a back door into the storm, rain pelting their faces as they sprinted across the alley. "This way," Reynolds shouted, pulling her toward a side street. "We can't go back to the station. Half the department's dirty." "Then where?" Alicia gasped. He looked around. "A reporter. She'll know what to do." His phone rang, an unknown number. He answered. A calm, chilling voice came through. "Detective Reynolds. You have something that belongs to me." Reynolds' grip on the phone tightened. "Who is this?" "Someone who's protected you for years," the voice said. "Don't make me change that." The line went dead. They kept running. The rain softened. The city went quiet. Then, faintly, the sound of a piano. Slow, haunting. They followed it to an abandoned church, candles flickering through cracked glass. "Stay behind me," Reynolds whispered, gun drawn. Inside, a man sat at the piano, dressed in a black suit, calm, still, like he'd been expecting them. He looked up, smiled. "Miss Carter, detective, you've come a long way." Alicia's voice shook. "Who are you?" The man stood. "I'm the one who built your grandmother's grave." Reynolds raised his gun. "Don't move." The man's smile didn't fade. "You think this is about justice? It's about legacy." Alicia's voice trembled. "What do you want?" He stepped closer, his shadow long against the stained glass. "To make sure the truth dies with you." She stumbled back, eyes wide. A click echoed from behind. Someone else was there. A second gun. A familiar voice, calm, broken. Put the drive down, or she dies. Alicia turned, her breath catching in disbelief. It was Evelyn Graham, alive, and she was holding the gun. "Evelyn," Alicia whispered. Evelyn's eyes were cold, but there was something hidden in them, pain. "I told you, Alicia," she said quietly. "You should have left it alone." The man in the black suit smiled faintly, hands clasped. "Now," he said, "give me what's mine." The rain outside grew louder, thunder rolling like a warning. Alicia clutched the drive tighter, her heart pounding so hard it drowned out everything else. "Evelyn," she whispered, tears in her voice. "What did they do to you?" Evelyn's eyes flickered, a flash of regret, but her finger stayed on the trigger. "More than you'll ever understand." Lightning flashed through the church windows, painting everyone in ghostly white for one brief second. And then a single gunshot split the silence. The gunshot echoed through the church like thunder rolling across a battlefield. For a heartbeat, time stood still. Smoke drifted through the candlelight, the smell of gunpowder sharp and haunting. Alicia's ears rang, her eyes wide with shock. Then she saw it. Detective Reynolds standing between her and Evelyn Graham, his arm bleeding, the gun clattering to the floor. "Run!" he shouted, voice raw. Alicia froze, torn between fear and fury, but something deep in her, something her grandmother left behind, told her to move. She ran toward the back door as the man in the black suit stepped forward, calm, deliberate, the devil in tailored wool. Evelyn's voice cracked. "Stop! Don't hurt her!" The man turned on her slowly. "You think you're in control, Evelyn? You've been my pawn since your husband confessed." Evelyn's eyes shimmered with tears. "You said he'd be safe. You promised." He smiled coldly. "Promises are for people with souls." Alicia reached the exit, turned back just long enough to see Evelyn's hands shaking, torn between orders and guilt. "Alicia, go!" she screamed. And then another shot. Evelyn fell. The man in the black suit dropped his weapon, eyes burning with rage. Alicia screamed, her voice echoing through the church rafters. Reynolds grabbed her arm, pulling her outside as sirens wailed in the distance. They stumbled into the rain, broken, breathless, clutching the USB drive like it was the last truth left in the world. Hours later, the city began to wake. News spread fast. Police raid, shootout, high-profile arrest. The truth came out piece by piece. Senator Whitfield, exposed for decades of fraud, land theft, and hidden deaths. His network dismantled, his wealth frozen, and at the center of every headline, Marjorie Carter's name. The grandmother they erased, the woman who refused to be silent. Alicia stood at her grandmother's grave as morning light cut through the clouds. A single yellow rose in her hand. "You didn't die for nothing," she whispered. Reynolds stood beside her, arm bandaged, tired but alive. "The world knows now," he said softly. "That's what matters." Alicia nodded, but her voice trembled. "It matters, but it hurts. So many years, so much stolen." She placed the rose gently against the headstone. "You taught me to believe in forgiveness, Grandma, but I don't know if I'm ready." Reynolds looked at her. "Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, Alicia. It means refusing to let hate write the ending." The wind carried the scent of wet earth, soft and alive. For the first time, Alicia felt peace. Not because justice was complete, but because truth finally had a voice. She walked away from the grave, whispering, "The truth should be free." And somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled one last time, like an answer. Sometimes the people the world dismisses carry the truth the world needs most. Sometimes the waitress, the worker, the forgotten soul, they are the mirror to our own humanity. Alicia's story isn't just hers. It's every story silenced by greed, every voice buried under power. And the question we all must ask is this: when we see injustice, will we walk away, or will we speak up? Because silence doesn't keep us safe, it keeps us enslaved. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you have done if you were Alicia? Do you believe in forgiveness after betrayal? Hit that like button, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss the next powerful story.